AITA for telling my mother-in-law I married her daughter and not her? My mother-in-law is a kind and funny woman, though she does have few problems with boundaries and is a little too involved in my marriage, especially now that my wife's pregnant. My wife's family aren't well off financially, and it's the opposite with my family. My family own a factory. I'm an engineer. My wife has a job that doesn't pay well, but she's happy with it. Every time I get my wife something nice, especially jewelry, I'd get a call from my mill complaining that she got nothing once she finds out, even if it was my wife's birthday or our wedding anniversary. Holidays and other occasions aside, she'd throw a fit about how I was treating her as less than. She always comes over, and when she notices a new piece of furniture or any new items, she'd complain I didn't get her similar stuff. She sent a picture of a very expensive necklace that she wanted me to get for Mother's Day. I called her to ask about it, and she said that she's been wanting it for a while, and only I could afford it. When I told her I may not be able to get it, she replied that I already got my wife an expensive necklace on Sunday and I can afford this one. I didn't get her necklace, and instead I decided to get her some fresh flowers that I picked from my late mother's garden that I trimmed, organized myself, then put them in a nice vase. We visited Sunday evening, and my mill kept smelling till it was time for gift opening. I handed her the flowers and talked about how much time and effort I made to put everything together. She was shocked and said she thought I loved and cared enough to get her something nice. Just like my wife, who technically isn't even a mother yet, and she's been a mother for 32 years. I got annoyed and said that I did not appreciate her harsh response to my gift, but she argued with me and kept talking about how much she wanted the necklace and that I could afford it just like I was able to afford the one I got for my wife, but instead chose a thoughtless, crappy gift to give her. That pissed me off. I said that I married her daughter and not her. Of course I was putting my wife first, and it's crazy she thinks I'm obligated to treat her and my wife the same. My wife looked at me and was astonished. Mill replied that I was being mean and nasty to her on purpose and rubbing my financial stability in her face, treating her as if she was greedy instead of showing her appreciation. She went inside looking so upset she was almost crying. Then my wife followed her. Suddenly, everyone was staring at me. It was awkward as hell. My wife snapped in the car, telling me I was way out of line for making her mom cry on Mother's Day, and said that she will not let my attitude cause a rift between her and her mom. I asked if she agreed with her mom's demands, and she said no. But I went over the top and shouldn't have spoken to her that way. She said I deeply hurt her mom's feelings and should apologize. I really don't want to ruin my relationship with my mother-in-law, but I'm worried that I just did. Edit. I saw a question about whether this was a cultural thing, and I don't know for sure. My wife's family come from Venezuela, and my mother-in-law always tries to get me to learn more about the place she originally came from. Every time I get my wife something nice, especially jewelry, I'd get a call from my mill complaining that she got nothing once she finds out, even if it was my wife's birthday or our wedding anniversary. Wow. Already NTA. But the rest of the post really confirms that your mill is treating you like an ATM. Why on earth does she think she can pressure you into gift after gift? Of course you ended up snapping. If anything, she and your wife should apologize. If your wife agrees with your point, but still takes MIL's feelings more into account than yours. When this is a long-standing issue, there's a problem. NTA. Your wife should have been the one to speak up when your mill was criticizing you. Her silence left you no other choice. Your mill needed to be shut down. NTA. Your mill obviously thinks of you as a piggy bank. Asking for all these expensive goods now that you married her daughter just isn't what a mill should be doing. So NTA, and don't indulge your mill by buying her expensive shish tea. NTA. You didn't marry your wife's mother. And her mother is not yours. End of story. You were well within your rights to do what you did. Especially when Mill calls you all the time to drop hints and or complain. Explain to your wife that it would be asinine if your father called her to demand that she go buy him a nice juicy steak, or fancy scotch, or a wonderful tie that only she could afford. Turn the tables. Explain how nuts that would be. Then tell her that's exactly what your Mill is doing to you. NTA. I'm so sorry you married into all that crazy. Your MIL's behavior is ridiculous and your wife's reaction is worrisome. You are most emphatically not the asshole here. It's 100% important and your right to set boundaries. And your Mill sounds like a greedy old bat who views you as the income source her husband never was. Hold your ground. But it's vital that you also get your wife on board to present a unified front. Step on it now or be the old bat's ATM until she dies. Good luck. WTF. NTA. It isn't called Mother-in-Law's Day. She ain't your mother. She ain't your wife. She does sound like a handful. Though, obviously your wife won't set those appropriate boundaries, so you had to. Frankly, anyone who expects an expensive gift from anyone else has gone way over the edge. Does she expect a new car when your wife gets a Lexus? Stop it now. NTA. But the way you are handling this isn't helping. First off, when someone asks you for something outrageously out of line, your response should not be, "I called her to ask about it," and "I told her I may not be able to get it." Your response should be, "Hell no," and "Don't ask me again." Second, your wife is an even bigger than your mother-in-law. If such a thing is possible. Your Mill is her mother, not yours. And your wife should be buying her any Mother's Day gifts, not you. Suggest you and your wife set a budget for gift giving and you turn this project over to her. Make sure she sticks to the budget. NTA. What bizarre behavior from Mill. As a little TMI side note, my husband's gifts to me on Mother's Day tend to be an enthusiastic reminder of how the motherhood stage of my life initiated. So the whole idea that your Mill should always get the same gifts as your wife has me cringing at the ramifications for my family upside down face. NTA. Best possible response to your greedy, grasping and acquisitive Mill. Sometimes direct is just direct, not rude. NTA. Sounds like she's a narcissist and everyone is used to caving to her. Your partner may need counseling to see it. NTA. But your Mill is an epic Makes one wonder if her happiness for you and her daughter was merely motivated by her own self-interest. You say Mill has been saying these type of things for quite some time. Your wife must have been witness of Mill doing so, and for that very reason she should have been in your corner, regardless of it was Mother's Day or not. In all honesty, your wife should have spoken to Mill about her comments after the first couple of times and nipped it in the bud with ground rules. NTA. Mill sounds entitled AF. Why does she feel that she should be treated the same as her daughter? NTA. Please don't apologize. Your Mill sees you as a cash cow. And your wife hasn't put a stop to it either. Please protect your assets. I have some serious reservations about your wife too. TBH. NTA. That's crazy that she expects that out of you. Your wife is a bigger ah than the ah that is your mill. NTA Your mill sounds very entitled and doesn't seem to understand the difference between being a mill and a wife. NTA And I really don't think you're out of line. You did indeed marry your wife. And putting her first should be expected. Your mill is being hella weird. NTA You are setting appropriate boundaries with what appears to be an entitled mill. I have never felt like I should spend money on jewelry, appliances, or furniture for my mill, and on Mother's Day we each honor our own mothers. Oof. You and your wife need to sit down and decide some boundaries to establish with her mother about requesting gifts and her crazy entitlement. Then you both sit calmly with Mill and you say, I apologize for my harsh tone on Mother's Day. I could have handled that more appropriately. Let me explain myself better right now. / Insert agreed upon boundaries here. .. And your wife backs you up.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.